Good morning from a rainy Saturday in Vienna. I went yarn shopping yesterday in preparation for this rainy weekend. And I got these two big fluffy balls of yarn. They're mostly alpaca wool and really nice and soft, and I loved these colorways. So I'm thinking of making a sweater because I only actually brought one sweater with me on this trip. And I can just picture this really fluffy, warm jumper out of these yarns in my head, so I want to give that a go. That might come in handy later. I have brought all my hooks with me though, and a couple of knitting needles as well. I have been considering knitting this sweater, and I think that could look quite nice in a knitted texture. But personally, knitting requires a lot more concentration. Crochet is just so comforting to me, and I think I just feel like crocheting. So I'm thinking of going for like a 6, 7 or 8 millimeter hook. Maybe just 7 as a middle point. This actually matches the top that I'm wearing right now. It's so fluffy that you're barely going to be able to see the actual stitches. Alright, I think I'm pretty set on using the moss stitch because it's got a bit of a knitted look to it. Confession, it's been a couple of hours and the original plan has kind of gone out the window. While crocheting, I was getting the inkling that I would prefer the sweater if it were knitted. So with the other ball of yarn, I just started knitting as a test, and I do in fact much prefer the look of it. So I'm going to be knitting the sweater now. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm definitely not as experienced in knitting, but I have to do more of it to become experienced. So this is a challenge, and I think I should challenge myself. Fingers crossed that it works out because I really like this yarn and it was kind of expensive, and it would be really nice to have a sweater at the end of this. So let's see if I can pull it off. So far so good. I started with just a few rows of ribbing, and then with the same needles just continued on with the stockinette stitch. I don't actually remember the exact size of these needles. I think it's either 9 or 10 millimeter, but I'm really happy with the looseness of the stitches. The first body panel is done. Very happy with how it's coming along. I've actually just had the idea to make this an open cardigan rather than a sweater, and I am definitely more excited by that idea, so I think I'm gonna go with that. Oh my gosh, it's so warm. So I guess this will be the back, and then I'll start working on the 2 front panels. Yay, I actually managed to do one of the front panel sides with no issues, and I've got the shaping for the neck. I think it's coming along well. part is all done. It's actually looking like a piece of wearable clothing now. The last step to make it actually wearable is to sew along here, along the sleeve, and down along the sides. And then I can actually try it on, which I have been really looking forward to. Time for final touches. Since I have this beautiful blue yarn with me, I think it could be nice to go around the edges with it, just crocheting up along here and around the neckline. I actually don't have any buttons with me, and I'm not yet sure if I even want to add buttons, so I'm going to leave that for now. It's so extremely warm. I love it so much. I'm gonna be real honest here. I can't believe that I made this. I feel like it's a really big step up from anything that I've knitted before, and I don't really think I made any mistakes or would change anything if I were to do it again, so that is a real success. I'm happy with the fit, the colours, and I'm really happy with this blue trim that I did with the shiny bamboo yarn. For now, I've just tied a bit of it at the top as well to connect the two sides of the cardigan. I do love it open as well though. And I'm still undecided if I want to add buttons or not. I think that's something I might do later down the track. I haven't made any buttonholes, but it would be easy to just slot the buttons through the gaps in the stitches since it is quite open and spacey. But for now, I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. I feel like I've spent just the right amount of time on it. At the start of the knitting process, I was struggling just a little bit because I felt like I really needed to concentrate and be very careful with my stitches. And then pretty much after I finished the back panel, I was feeling really comfortable with knitting, and it became pretty relaxing and more enjoyable. And then just as I was finishing up the last sleeve, it started to feel just a little bit more difficult again, and I was fairly ready to be done with this project. But I'm so happy with it. I'm really, really glad I knitted it and that I made it a cardigan. The crazy thing is that knitting seems to use less yarn than crocheting. I've still got this much left, although pretty crazy. This is all that was left of the blue and grey ball. I had just enough to finish the last sleeve. But that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, for coming on the journey with me, coming on some adventures around Vienna with me. Let me know what you think of the cardigan, and I will see you next time.